mean, I hesitate to ever say 1 year was the worst year ever, this year was the worst day ever, but this has got to be in terms of television news coverage. I don't know what else had so many things going on at the same time, and it isn't over yet. Not to mention the fact that the very people bringing us this news coverage are in fact in grave danger. I think we really need to say, as we say to people in the military, as we say to teachers, we need to say thank you for your service to people who are covering these events. Equipment being bashed around, people being assaulted, threatened, all of that kind of thing. This was a dangerous zone for a journalist to be covering, but it was important for us to see it.
But the moving images were critically important to understand not just the specificity of what was going on, but to understand the rapid nature of how it was unfolding. And so television served us, I think, quite well. And what I saw of the coverage was pretty impressive and pretty accurate as they morphed through their language of protesters and demonstrators to mob and rioters and insurrectionists and anarchists. And at one point, I even heard the word terrorist. So as the actions went on, the language morphed along and became more and more judgmental, as it should have, by the way. Well, this isn't the sort of moment where you have to pretend like you are unbiased, as if there are equal sides. Like, well, if we're going to criticize these people who have just inhabited the United States Capitol, maybe we ought to hear someone who supports this. And so this whole notion of false equivalency can die away in a moment like this. And I think that's important for us to recognize, that our job isn't always to be unbiased. It's to be accurate and true and fair. But fairness doesn't mean that that the people who are inhabiting the Capitol and chasing senators and congressmen out of the chambers have some right to express their grievances while they're doing that.
Where are we going?
Rayburn.
Rayburn?
Underground.
And CNN talked about this all the time, which is at some point, one can't just do, oh, and here's this side and here's the other side, as though there's another side to some arguments. And I think sometimes that more aggressive way of describing these things is a more truthful way of describing it. Yes, one might be crossing the line of what used to be considered seemly in covering certain stories, but there was nothing seemly about what those pictures were. And I think to at least bring up words like sedition and traitor and all that kind of thing during that coverage was worth bringing up. The very fact that they kept their cameras on, pointed in the right direction, is something. I certainly wouldn't have done that in those kinds of circumstances. I'd have dropped my camera and run in the other direction. I think what was happening was covered, and I think from what I saw, and I was bouncing around from various sources on the cable news networks, but there was a sense of having to make decisions of, are we keeping here on the floor where they're debating Arizona, electoral votes, or are we going to go to Trump's speech at the rally? And then, of course, when the actual violence and the attack on Congress broke out, they, of course, went to that, and we were in the battlefield of that. So I think, yes, I think journalism has done a pretty good job of covering this under some pretty extraordinary circumstances.
And they absolutely are in danger. And you wouldn't expect that when you go to the Capitol to cover the Electoral College vote, that you're going to end the day wearing riot gear.
Yeah.